And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska aviation weather outlook on this Tuesday, August 20th. And the big weather story continues to be a powerful Bering Sea low. It's the remnants from what was once Typhoon Ampel that impacted Japan a number of days back. This low is bottomed out just above 960 millibars in the western portion of the Bering Sea, and by later Wednesday afternoon, the center of the low is expected to pass near the Bering Strait in the vicinity of Steller and Wales, and then kind of hook up to the north and east to just off of Utqiagvik here in the Beaufort Sea by the time we get into later Thursday morning. It's going to push an occluded front across the western portion of the state starting later tonight and into the day Wednesday. This occluded front will also have a band of rain and strong winds. The low itself has gale and storm force winds. There are high wind warnings for the west side here of the Seward Peninsula, Nome up to Wales and Steller, as well as St. Lawrence Island, where winds could gust as high as 70 miles an hour. Elsewhere around Norton Sound, down in the lower Yukon Delta, we have high surf advisories and coastal flooding, at least coastal flooding advisories, because we expect quite a bit of wind and wave action that'll push water levels 4 to as much as 8 feet above the normal high tide here along areas of Norton Sound and down along the lower Yukon Delta. So certainly very stormy conditions. Meanwhile, the interior Wednesday morning, VFR conditions extend down into the Panhandle. And by Wednesday afternoon, that front will have pushed inland. There may even be some on the south end where there is not going to be as much wind. Area of rain or rain showers pushing across Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula Wednesday afternoon and evening. Generally, VFR conditions should hold into Wednesday afternoon in the Panhandle, southeast mainland, but we're going to start to see MVFR conditions with gusty winds and rain pushing in across the western interior, broad area of IFR conditions across the Bering Sea and the especially central western Aleutians. By Thursday, that low will be taking a track up here through the northwest portion of the mainland. The front working its way further east. That's this broad area of IFR from the eastern Alaska Range down into the Gulf, in area of rain and rain showers. Gusty winds associated with that, and again, still gusty winds. There's a secondary disturbance going to swing into Norton Sound and the Seward Peninsula come Thursday afternoon and evening with another round of wind and rain, not as quite as strong as what comes through on Wednesday, but you're going to have all kinds of turbulence Wednesday along the west coast, spreading inland, crossing in through the mainland, so there will likely be other concerns as we go through Thursday into Thursday afternoon. And then looking at Thursday afternoon, we do have IFR conditions along the northeastern Gulf Coast, outer portion of the Panhandle there in the southeastern Gulf, MVFR conditions for the inner channels and intercoastal mountains back through the mainland. Quite a bit of MVFR conditions as that front will have pushed inland. And then here comes that secondary impulse of precipitation and gusty winds right across Norton Sound, the Seward Peninsula. So IFR conditions anticipated there, as well as up along and just off of the northwest Arctic coast, and also down here into Kuskokwim, Bristol Bay, north side of the Alaska Peninsula, especially extending out through the central and western Aleutians. We're looking at IFR conditions. So on Wednesday, Anaktuvik Pass there in the east central Brooks Range, look for VFR conditions to become MVFR. You're going to start to get some upslope flow and lowering ceilings. Already the Brooks Range has picked up some light snow just in recent times, and as this system works its way eastward here through the course of the end of this week, we will likely see potentially some more light snow there up in the higher elevations. Adigan Pass, VFR, MVFR there by Wednesday afternoon. Lake Clark and Merrill starting out the day VFR but becoming MVFR in the afternoon. Same thing, Rainy Pass, and we're also going to have that little area of rain or rain showers moving across Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula come Wednesday, especially Wednesday afternoon and evening. Windy Pass should try to hold on to VFR conditions for Wednesday. Same thing going further east. Isabel, Mentasta passes, still VFR expected during the day time on Wednesday. Copper River Basin also VFR, Tanita Pass. Portage Pass, their MVFR conditions will develop along the east entrance up into Prince William Sound and along the Kenai Peninsula as we go through the day on Wednesday. And then finally, in the north end of the Panhandle, still VFR conditions are expected for Chilkoot and White for Wednesday. So looking at the freezing levels aloft and at the surface, we have surface freezing lines here over areas of the eastern Brooks Range, the mountains here into northwest Canada, areas 40-mile Gold Country down into, again, the southern parts of the Yukon Territory. But here you can see this is the area where the low pressure is Wednesday morning, and then the front that's pushing inland across the west into the interior. So ahead of the front, freezing levels rise dramatically, 10,000 feet in the central interior, 12,000 feet just south of the Alaska Range over Anchorage. And as you get down toward Kodiak Island, southward along the Alaska Peninsula, freezing levels are above 14,000 feet. That front will have areas of moderate to locally heavy precipitation pushing inland. Some of the heavier rains that will occur with the system will be along the southwestern slope here of the Brooks Range in the vicinity of Ambler. And we are expecting with this front a band of rain that will push in late Tuesday night and into Wednesday. And so we find with the configuration of the freezing levels aloft, generally above 4,000 feet there along the Brooks Range, above 6,000 feet middle upper Yukon Valley, above 10,000 feet along the Alaska Range into the western interior. Above 6,000 feet there could be moderate icing out over Norton Sound back toward St. Lawrence Island. And then as you get into the areas of south central back toward Bristol Bay, there could be isolated areas of moderate icing above 14,000 feet, giving those higher freezing levels. And again, those higher freezing levels coincide with the mid and upper level ridge because you get those warmer temperatures being transported by south winds ahead of the front. But a very classic ridge trough pattern here. We have a jet core of 120 to as high as 140 knots just north of the central and eastern Aleutians. At 9,000 feet or 700 millibars, a broad area of 50-knot plus winds from the Seward Peninsula down along the Yukon, Kuskokwim deltas back into the eastern Bering and then just south of the eastern Aleutians. There's that secondary system back there off the Kamchatka coast that'll be coming in to Norton Sound on Thursday. And then here Wednesday, we have the core of strongest winds just to the south of the low center as expected to pass near the Bering Strait vicinity of Wales Steller by Wednesday afternoon. And it's going to take a core of winds 50 to as high as 60 knots, 3,000 feet above the surface. A broad belt of 40-knot winds surround that area back into the central Bering Sea. So we expect be a lot of turbulence along areas of the west. Severe turbulence possible along areas, western southern part of the Seward Peninsula, all along Norton Sound, back down into the Yukon coastline, and then back out toward St. Lawrence and St. Matthew. We could see severe turbulence at times surface to 3,000 feet with a broad area of moderate turbulence surrounding that over the west side of the state and out here across the northern into the eastern Bering. Also an area of moderate turbulence potentially just on the east side there of the Brooks Range. So again, stormy weather in the west, but relatively calmer conditions will prevail over the southeast mainland and into the Panhandle on Wednesday.